I'll see if I can do it.
This meeting is being recorded.
Perfect. Well, welcome
Larry,
everyone.
turn off your mic. Just mute yourself, bud. You're killing me.
Uh, Larry, I think it should be in your bottom left-hand corner. There we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone. For those who I have not met, my name is Will Nelson, and along with my esteemed colleague, Dr. David Housley, we've been putting on these NorCal training for the last couple months here, and we are excited to have another great presentation today. So as I pull up the slides, I will let Mr. Sun introduce himself, and then we'll, I think, jump right in.
I mean, to be fair, it's actually doctor. If
Oh,
we're
Oh
if we're
yeah, he
doing
just got
all
his doctorate
if we're
last
doing
year.
all that,
You
yeah.
go, Roberto.
I'm sorry. When did you get your doctorate? My apologies.
2024. It's been about a year and a half, although it was a long, much longer time. And my doctorate is actually in pedagogy, so the science of teaching, which is hopefully a little bit of teaching going on today. We'll see.
Well, fantastic. I did not know that, so congratulations.
Thanks.
And welcome. Today, I think we have a very important topic. How do we manage pressure? So, when we start to feel it on the field, what tools, tricks, and what can we do to again help us stay centered, help us continue to be the best referee we can be? Because again, one of the things I really love about refereeing is that the skills that I really work on over the weekend in rugby, I find it can be really applicable to my life outside of rugby, and I'm sure that this is a presentation that will really help that. So I will pass it over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I will say that I hope this is going to be like very interactive. I saw Jen's email and it was like guest expert or something. I feel like it's a little overselling it. I talked to David about putting this together in part because, one of the things, so for those who don't know me already, I am the referee allocator, and I work on referee development with David for youth rugby specifically. So I do all the allocations for Rugby NorCal that go basically from middle school up through U19, excluding Premier. And I also help out with getting referees for some of the big U10, U12 tournaments, as well as the Fall Girls Sevens, which is a developmental league for girls' high school programs that maybe don't have enough players for a 15s team. And that's where we put a lot of brand new refs. So we try to have an L1 right before Fall Girls Sevens starts, and we put those refs into that competition because everybody's learning there. So it's a really good spot, and we can get them some good coaching. We've had some really good refs come out of that, including Emma Cleary and how am I forgetting his name? He just moved. He was a Rhino. Help me, somebody. Morris. Thank you. I knew it started with an M. Also started with us in that competition. So we've seen some of our reps that started there really take off. But one thing that I've noticed, especially on the youth side, with what we call youth match officials, and so a YMO is not just someone who does a youth game. It's actually refers to a referee who's under the age of 18. Um, and even though, just like in senior rugby, we try to put in a lot of safeguards to keep referees focused and to curb referee abuse. Um, it's not always successful. And we've seen over the years a lot of referees, especially our YMOs, um, need a little more help really understanding the tools they have within a game to keep themselves focused, to keep themselves calm, and to keep the game flowing. Um, and so that's why I wanted to talk about this today. It applies to senior rugby, and a lot of what I want to do is hear from y'all about what your experiences have been and what tools you guys have. Um, and this is being recorded for posterity, so hopefully other referees can learn. Obviously not just from me, but from Will and David and from all of you. So let's go to the next slide. So there's a couple of things here that I want you guys to take like 30 seconds to think about, and then we'll have a little conversation about it. Um, but what are some pressure situations from a ref, right? Like for a ref, like what are some pressure points for us, right? Whether that's, I think, in Jen's email, she said if it's a big game or if it's a close game or if it's late game. And for people doing high school and youth games, it can be the sidelines, it can be the parents, it can be a host of other things that we don't necessarily always have to deal with in senior rugby until you get way up there and then you're in front of a stadium with a bunch of fans who hate you. Uh, but think about what some of the pressure situations generally are, what you've faced. Think about a time you were felt under pressure and things did not go well. Think about a time you were under pressure and things did go well. And then what was different, not about those situations externally, but what was different about you? So I am going to set a quick timer and we're going to take 30 seconds to just think about it.
Thank you, Blake.
That's a good one, Blake.
Yeah, that was Jesuit in Sacramento.
All right, so we're at 30 seconds. I know that feels like a super long time to just be silent with your thoughts on a Zoom. But here we are. So, I think anyone should feel free to speak up, but I am going to sort of first ask Will, who's done some high level matches, uh, to sort of give us a couple of points that come up with this little set of thought questions.
Yeah. Because I think you did a great job of mentioning and referencing some of what can be pressures. Another big one that I face, and I'm sure some of us face, is when we know the players and when we have a relationship. Maybe it's a previous team, so it's again having a bit of those expectations. Again, I started my refereeing career refereeing. I would play the first side, referee the second side, and so a time it did not go very well is when again very brand new. I was trying to be as equitable and equal as I could, and I missed some calls against my own team or my yeah against Santa Clara, which I grew up playing for, and they got a little chirpy to me, and again I just got very flustered and didn't really understand. And again, the more you do it, the more you understand. I think the more just internally calm you can be, because again, you've seen some stuff before, and you just learn some tools and tricks to be able to control the controllables. And so what was different is again, I think I could identify things a little bit better. I could see, oh, this player is starting to spiral. What tools in my toolbox can I go up and de-escalate this? How can I take some of the pressure out? Can I tie my shoes and like let everyone like calm down, and to really make the most of that, like that space and setting?
And then I'm also going to pick on James LeBrant because James is a ref who I had when he did a U10 game, I think was his very first game, and now he's definitely an up and comer. James, when you look at these four bullet points, what comes up for you?
Yeah. I mean, for pressure, I've definitely had like a lot of games where it's like all the players know who I am. So kind of similar to what Will said. And then it's like just expectations from like everybody. And it's like I mean you just kind of have to just do your best and just like try to keep things even, but it's like it does add a lot of pressure. Um I'm trying to think of like a more specific example, but I can't really think right now.
That's fine.
Yeah.
What about the rest of our wonderful, experienced referees on this call who
I
have
got one.
done a lot of games. Skit, is that you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, well, it isn't, but I do have something to say.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm sorry if I
No,
missed
don't
somebody.
worry. I think it was Anthony, but I will say I've been doing a lot of refing the team that I've been coaching lately, and I didn't think that was as bad as it could be, but it turns out, either they think you're being too lenient on your own team, or your own team thinks you're being overly fair to the other team. So it's a bit of a no-win situation. And then I'll echo what James said, that when you are working with people, you think it'll be more easygoing, but it's actually quite the opposite. And that is something that I have been working on here in the last few months. About, I prefer to go somewhere where no one knows who I am. I don't know who you are. I can do my job, make the good calls, make an occasional bad calls, make the unpopular decisions, and walk away, because I don't know you people. I don't care if you're mad at me, but when it's people they tend to be a little bit more hard on you than if it was a stranger, and that's something that I'm coming to terms with and working through myself. So that it's a good point.
And I'm sorry. So, Anthony, did I cut you off there?
Oh, it's all right. But like the other guy said, I learned how to ref when I was in Texas. I played in Texas for off and on for 15 years before I started refing. I'm refing guys I played with for 10 years. I'm doing, and part of the problem is their tells, and you already know what they're going to do, and you get in a habit of blowing it before they do something, and that's not always good. And it's also the familiarity. I had to card somebody for yelling at me and using my rugby name after I repeatedly told him, "Hey, it's not that right now." And it's like they say, it is the hardest thing to do is ref your friends or ref people you've played with, but you can get to a point where you're detached yourself from it and you're able to just go out there, have fun, let them play and have fun. And but the hardest actually situation is when you're involved, the people and they start fighting. Because you want to get involved, you want to get in there, you want to help break it up, get it where it's settled down so you don't have to issue cards and you can't do it. And and I've had that problem. I've got where I've gone in there because I'm a bigger guy. I can get in there and it doesn't matter. But it's not what you need to do. You got to take that time to step back. And like everybody else said, I'd rather go ref somewhere I have no skin in the game, because then everybody's like, okay, hey, we're not upset, but it's not going to happen unless a lot of times you go into a different union than where you grew up playing. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And we definitely don't want you guys getting involved trying to break up fights. We'd
yeah,
rather you just write down numbers of people you see
yeah,
fighting and then sanction them later.
yeah. But
Um,
also, not to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
one of the other situations you can find yourself into that can be pressure, you're out like you're doing a rugby tournament, and all of a sudden you find yourself, oh shoot, I'm in the semifinal game refereeing, and that's not what I expected today. And you're all of a sudden the refs that picked you for that game have total faith in you, and you don't. You're
So
still like,
what do you tell yourself in that situation? Like, how do you get yourself into the mode where you can do that
after my
game?
panic attacks, I usually breathe, going, "Hey, somebody must think I can do this game." So I go out there and fake it till I can't, until I make it. A lot of it is just go out there and fake it. I mean, that's about the best you can do, because you'll find out really quick whether or not that you can have faith in yourself. That's just one of the things I can sit here and tell you, Roberto, you're really good. You can do this. You got this. But until you get out there and blow the whistle and get moving, if it's a 15, it's about 10 minutes in, you'll be fine. But that first 10 minutes, you're going to be sitting there second guessing yourself and doubting yourself. But once you get in the flow of the game and realize, hey, I have this, it's no different than everything else, and you're good to go.
I think that's a really good point that the game's the game. Wherever you end up, the game's the game, and you just have to go out there and call what's in front of you and trust yourself and trust that you're there for a reason. That's fantastic. I'll tell you one of the big pressure things for me as people are talking about reffing people is when you're reffing other referees. And so I've had a few games where I'm reffing, like Paul Bretz, who was a very high level referee and worked in this area for a long time, president of our society for a while. Um, and as a player, he's making every call a half second before you are. Like you see the hands in, but he's yelling hands in. Or you see, the guy diving off his feet and he's yelling he's diving off his feet, and you're like, you're not helping me. You're making it look like I'm following you, you know. Which is a tough situation and one where for me, I had to pull him aside and say like, "Hey, man, cut that out." I'm seeing it. I'm with you.
Hey, Berto, Blake had his hand
Yeah, I
raised.
saw Blake had his hand up. I was going to go to Blake next. Thank you,
I
David.
put it back down because what I was going to say is basically along the same lines. People not necessarily people I've played with, but teams that I've refed now year after year after year. And I know the captain is going to be a pain in my ass going out on that field because they always are. Like, I have the front row captain chat, and he's like, I promise I'm going to be better this time. And I'm like, we both know that's a lie. And trying to not let that influence me when it comes to dealing with him on the pitch or someone like that on the
So
pitch.
what do you say to him in your pregame that helps you to sort of set that standard and to keep yourself
I
centered?
literally say, we both know that you're going to be a pain in my ass on this pitch. And we have had this conversation many times, and it's going to be the same thing. If you come to me with a legitimate complaint, fine. If you come to me bitching about the fact that I didn't see something and getting in my face and insulting my shoes, you're going to get a card again.
Yeah, I had a game like we're talking about. I had a game Saturday where I knew one of the teams very well, and we're all going to do that. We're in NorCal, wherever you are. You get to know people if you're here long enough. I started playing high school rugby here in 1991. I know a lot of people, you know. Um, but I told both captains at the captains chat, like, some of you guys have had me and some of you haven't, but you should know, like, I have a very low tolerance for things that aren't productive. So whether that's things you're saying to me, things people are saying to each other, guys trying to get under the opponent's skin in ways that aren't productive for rugby, I don't have a tolerance for that, and I'm gonna blow it up like really quick. And one guy didn't believe me, and it happened,
Yeah, but it's especially challenging when you know it's going to be the captain
Right,
because
no,
they're the one
exactly.
that should be coming to you with issues.
And I do tell them at the beginning, I say, you're gonna come if you got something, you're gonna come to me at a stop and we're gonna have a conversation. You're not gonna yell at me, while I'm giving a penalty. You're not gonna run by me and open and play and give me your observations. That's not gonna fly. I don't, that's not what being the captain is. It's coming over at an appropriate moment and we're gonna talk and we're gonna have a productive discussion, right? Um, that's great. Does anyone else have a time when you felt under pressure, something didn't go well, or times you felt under pressure and you felt like you handled it well? Do you have any other examples before we go to our next bit?
Berto, I can give you one from a couple of weeks ago. I was ARing for one of our developing refs in his 20s a college match. And we had a play in a very close match that was highly contested. And it was a kick, and the kick uh, bounced off a leg, and then it bounced off an arm, and it went into touch. And so the center ref came over, and the first thing that he said to me is, "Let's take our time on this."
Hmm.
And and so that settled me down a little bit. And then he told me, and by saying let's take our time with this, one of the things he was indicating was that he was consulting the AR, so it wasn't just his opinion. He was getting some input on that, and I think that teams build confidence if they see that consultative process taking place. And then he told me what he saw, and I had called it the other way. I thought there was a good chance that he was right about who had touched it last before it went out, and I reversed my call, and we did the line out, and no harm, no foul. But I thought that it was really great as a developing referee. The first thing he said is, "I'm not going to get rushed through this,"
Hmm.
and that allows the teams to settle down a little bit too, because now time is off, and then we got it right and we went on. So that's an example of doing it, I think, with some smarts to it.
Now it's a great example. Eric, what do you got?
Yeah, that states something that's been going through my mind. Yeah, at beginning refing, I always felt like I had to keep up with the game, and that would put me under pressure. And finally, I realized the way to deal with that pressure is to slow the game down, like in that situation. Look for points where you can slow it down. So then now, when I watch young referees and they appear to be under pressure, that's what I always tell them at halftime. Look, whatever you can do, like, setting line out, setting scrums, don't let anything happen until you're happy with it. And then you can take control of the game back by slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, let's go to the next slide. And we're going to start talking about some strategies. And these are just the ones that I came up with that I use, but I definitely want to hear from you all about, what do you all use? And this is exactly what David and Eric are talking about, which is control the pace and give yourself time. Remember that you actually have a lot of control over the tempo of the game. And, obviously you're not trying to slow things down when teams want to go fast. You're not trying to slow things down in a way that is disruptive to the players or what they're trying to do. But you do want to slow things down for yourself and to remind yourself that you're actually don't have to be in a rush, right? You have to keep up with play. You want to be third to the breakdown. You want to stay in ball line. You want to do all those things that we're taught to do, but your decision making doesn't have to be rushed. And so the first thing I always say is just breathe, right? And we talk about this with something like a knock on advantage, right? You see a knock on, you're not blowing your whistle right away. You're letting it breathe to see what happens next. Does the non-offending team have the ball? Do they have a chance to actually do something with it? You can put your arm out. You can say knock advantage, but you don't actually have to do anything yet. Just breathe. The next one I think is really, and feel free to jump in if you guys have comments. The next one I think is, use your instant replay. So while you're taking your time to breathe, visualize what you just saw and really think about whether you have something clear and obvious, and there's times when we're uncertain about a call or uncertain about what we saw. Remember that you have a second, you have a beat to breathe and process it, right? You don't have to make a call right away. So once you do that and you're sort of sure of your call, remember that even if there's another tackle and a breakdown or there's a breakaway and a try is scored, you could still bring it back, right? You don't necessarily want to do that after 3 phases. That's a little much, but you have time to bring it back and say, okay, guys, tweet, we're going to bring this one back. There was a knock on here, or there was an infraction. I'm going to pause there. I want to see what you guys all think about sort of just those 3 points.
I'll add something an observation that I've made over the years watching a lot of other referees is that too many referees, I think, are too intent on inserting themselves into the match.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you said, there's times where the quick whistle comes, and they need to, I think a lot of referees want to establish a presence. We're like taught that in a way, make establish what you're really going after early in the game and things like that. But sometimes it's too much. And I see a lot of referees just get really whistle happy over the years. And I think like slowing down, like you just said, and breathing and just and sort of giving it time. I mean, the best games. I remember, I'll never forget, years ago we had a game and I told the referee, I said, put the whistle away. And when he did do it. He put the whistle away. The game just opened up and it became this beautiful flowing match. It was one of the best games, there ever was in that period of time. And it was all because the referee just stopped being overly zealous. And so I think that's a really important thing to remember too.
Yeah, it's a great point. Absolutely. And we know through like how referees develop, right? Like you take your L1 and you read the law book and you're ready to do your first, few games, your first year of games, maybe your 6 months or whatever it is. And you're just, we know referees at that level, at that stage, are just calling everything they see, right? So there's a knock on, it's immediately whistle. There's, every infraction is immediate. And that's why in the levels, when you look at like how we're grading referees now, like advantage is coming at it comes at a much later stage. We don't expect referees at the beginning to have that. And that's why we're doing things like this, is to, like you're saying, Matt, encourage referees to just take a breath, just take a second and see what happens next.
I want to add a couple of comments because I was thinking about some things earlier, and I don't want to take too much of the floor. But one of the things, most of you guys don't know me, but I've been refereeing for 4 decades. I've got hundreds and hundreds of matches, lots of tough, hard matches under my belt with big, angry men. And I think I also see sometimes a lot of refs will allow the captain to have conversation with them. A lot of conversation. I don't want to talk to the captain's job, in my opinion, is to keep his troops in order. It's not to have endless discussions or really any discussion with the referee. I don't want to hear from the captain. I don't. I just want to talk to him and say, hey, you guys, you have to get that guy's act together. And I want to share a really great technique that I've just tried out the other day, and it worked so beautifully. It was one player, and he was just kind of getting out of control. We
have 30 seconds for this because apparently we're running out of time on the Zoom.
All right. Anyway, and
sorry.
And I said to him, I went to the captain. I said, now you ask that guy over there, number 6, ask him if he wants to play rugby today. Mm-hmm. And so he walked over to him. He goes, what do you mean? And he said, do you want to play rugby today? And he said, of course. He said, yes. And then came back to me. He says, yeah, number 6 wants to play rugby. And at that moment, I said, well, good. Well, we better start changing his game, changing his attitude. And when all 29 other guys heard this too, and it's just that you get control of the game completely right there and then.
And that's something I do with the captains. I do tell them, I've told them this for years, you guys know who needs more love and attention on your team. So if you give it to them and I don't, everyone's going to be happier, have more fun. And that's because of the hotheads like me when I played. Okay, so a couple things. I know we're running out of time. I'm sorry. I thought we had an hour. Slow down your calls. Take some time setting a scrum. This is stuff that Eric and David just talked about. Talk to the captains like you're talking about. Have them talk to their teams if you have repeated infringements or things are getting heated between the teams. And you can take it a moment, like David said, they were getting a call right, but you could also just go talk to your AR about nothing and just take 30 seconds to get everybody calm. Next slide as we head to the home stretch. All right. You also have control of the environment, especially at the youth level. You can give cards. You can get rid of people who aren't there to play productive rugby or who are, just ruining the game. Obviously it's got to be real infractions, but you do have that power. And then ejections of coaches or parents, which is something that I think is grossly underutilized, especially by YMOs. If a coach is in your ear and giving you a hard time, send him off. A 14-year-old or a 16-year-old sending off a grown man should embarrass him enough to not do it anymore. You can also send captains over to deal with their coaches.
I got to stop you there.
Go ahead.
a 14-year-old sending over some of the parents I've had to deal with, they'd be like, "Fuck you, kid. I'm not going anywhere. What are you going to do about it?" Like it would just escalate the
Right.
whole thing. It would make a big hot mess out of it, you know?
Last time I tried.
I get that, and that's why it's really important at that level. And I keep pressing with Rugby NorCal that we have to have actual field monitors, and we have to have someone there. Like a YMO is not supposed to do a game without someone watching, either a ref coach or a field monitor or someone who can intervene. Because right, the YMO should make that decision, but it should be an adult who enforces it. So it should be someone like me or David or you, Dylan, or someone with a bright green vest to go over and say, okay, now you have to leave.
I'll be
Right?
more than happy to go to any thing that has you youth referee and help out. I
Um,
actually would prefer it. I would rather help coach the younger refs to help them get up, or
we
even the
would
more experienced ref. I don't. I That's what I want to do. That's why I came back to sport.
we would love that, and I will send you an email. We have less than a minute remaining. I just want to thank everybody for your time and your input today. This has been fantastic, and I guess Will or David, I don't know if you want to take us out.
Yeah, I'll just jump in before David does. Again, just wanted to thank you so much for coming. Again, I think it's really important as referees to be able to control the controllables. Again, I think we discussed some great tips about, again, how do we calm ourselves down? How do we portray calm? How can we be a filter and not a sponge in terms of pressure and transferring it back? So, really important topic, and just want to thank everyone for sharing. Dr. Hosley, take us home.
Well, thanks very much, Berta. We really appreciate this. And for everybody who came to listen on this topic, we know it's important to you. This is going to be taped, as Berto said, and we'll make it available and show you where the link is.